microphones. Didn't get any music going. So we're showing daughters. Showing daughters. We're, we're broadcasting. We're putting Lisa making noise. Lisa making noise. Yep. Okie dokie, folks. Hi there, kids out there. I don't see anybody jumping in on the chat room thing, but live chat, we got live chat on. So hopefully we'll get something from your kids out there soon.
I'm watching football.
Yeah, some of them might be. I got confirmation of 2 shows being canceled, and I got a replacement show for one of them. So we'll do the gun shows, and then we can have a free fire thing. Just let me push that. Okay. Well, somebody's out there listening. Well, I know on the FM broadcast we're going out, so these gun shows. There we go. Well, okay, Scotty just confirmed that the chat's working. Okay. Just confirmed that the chat's working. Okay. Starting next weekend, Sunday or Saturday, October the 10th, from 9 to 4, and Sunday, October 11th, from 9 to 3, the Cherry Tree Township Volunteer Fire Department, Cherry Tree Road, Titusville. Gun show. Face masks are optional. Again, face masks are optional, and that's October the 10th and the 11th. And be there, be square. Being it's one of the first shows of the fall season, I think should be pretty well attended. Now, October the 23rd and 24th. I'll pay particular attention to this one because the hours are totally different. Because it's being held in a barn down in Shippendale. It's an Amish barn. Okay. It's on October 23rd from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. That's Friday night. And then Saturday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Right.
Okay. Because no shows on Sunday for the thing there. And the address is 5320 Route 322, Shippendale. It's the Allegheny Log Home warehouse, basically. So, again, that's 5320 Shippendale on Route 322. 23rd, from 4 to 9, and the 24th from 9 to 4. And I've got 4 tables coming. I've got 4 tables here. So. Vestibule is closed or canceled, and same with Hermitage Show. The next one after that, unless I get anything more, is Harbor Creek at the Harbor Creek Fire Department Social Hall, Route US 20, Buffalo Road, Harbor Creek, PA. That's December the 12th and the 13th. And then the next one after that is January 23rd and 24th at Coney Lake Sportsman's Club on Sportsman Road, Coney Lake, PA. Don't need to go into too many details because it's a little ways away. So that's what we have listed in the area for gun shows.
I have an idea.
Yeah?
This will take some legal wrangling, but you need to copyright the term anti-Trump rally, wink, wink, nod, nod. And have that as a definition for a gun show. So you can get out there and say, we're having an anti-Trump rally. Wink, wink, nod, nod. Everybody will know. There you gotta go.
The only ones that will be Antifa and Democrats.
That's why you put it out. The wink, wink, nod, nod means something else.
And
Maybe the Proud Boys will guard the place.
Yeah, get the Proud Boys there. And the non-existent Antifa that Biden doesn't believe exists, that New York Times, I think it was New York Times, just announced.
Yeah,
they confirmed that they exist. They are anti-government subversives.
Just like the original. But the original was anti-fascist, but pro-communist.
G.I. Joseph, Route 322. Hey, that pipe goes right through my AO. Well, there you go, G.I. Josephs. Check and see how close that is to where you live, and maybe you can come up and say hello. I probably won't recognize you because I probably haven't seen you, but you obviously have seen me, so I've got one of them faces you just can't forget.
Who are you again?
Say what? Say what?
Who are you again? I can't remember.
I can't remember. Oh, shit. So, again, kids, I don't have any stories, not because I didn't want them, just that my ink cartridges that I ordered 2 weeks ago haven't showed up yet. And they've been charged to my credit card, so... Uh-oh.
Another idea.
Uh-oh, Sky's got another bell ringer.
I'm channeling my inner Fred Flintstone.
Wait a minute, before you go any further. Whenever you get an idea, give us a moo.
There will be no mooing. What you need to do is get you one of them birds that likes to peck on tablets like they had on the Fred Flintstones, and you can hook it into your computer.
Yeah.
You just print it all out on a rock. I think they have those at Home Depot.
I don't think that works quite the same way.
Well, there's a port in the back of the bird.
Okay.
Anyway, so since we're talking and freestyling it totally tonight, we'll have some stories off the computer. Mr. T brought his laptop, and Scotty said he'd find something on his phone. But while they're playing around doing that, have you noticed a commercial that was put out by the Biden campaign telling everybody that if Trump has his way and cuts Social Security, that it will be totally bankrupt in 3 years?
No, I saw it in writing. I saw the print of that. Of course, Biden lied.
Yeah.
Again.
But here's the clincher. A new ad by Biden has come out. I saw it twice yesterday. That if he is elected as president, people that work for an hourly wage, they didn't say what the hourly wage was, but those who work at an hourly wage will receive $14,000 pay increase per year. And if you're on Social Security, your Social Security payment will go up by $1,300.
Well, if I recall, Biden twice voted to raise taxes on Social Security during his time as a senator. So, do you believe him now? Because I sure don't.
No, but I'm just saying. They're saying Trump's going to bankrupt it by cutting the budget, but Biden's going to increase the amount you're going to get. Well, how's he going to do that?
Trump is not going to do away with Social Security by cutting the budget. However, if Lyndon Baines Johnson back in 1967 and the Democrats at that time controlled both houses of Congress, LBJ got us involved in a war called Vietnam. Now, JFK was going to get us there involved, and the generals advised, hey, we really don't want to fight in Southeast Asia. So he started pulling people out. and he got assassinated, murdered by, well, there's a variety of people could probably fill in the blank there. But anyway, so LBJ, who during his time as Lieutenant Colonel Navy Reservist in World War II, lied, had the whole bomber crew lied so that he could get a Silver Star, decided he was going to be a wartime general, or a president rather, and got involved with Vietnam. The problem is, though, he also came up with a thing called the Great Society Program. And come to find out, there was not enough money in the budget to do the Great Society Program, which basically enslaved blacks for decades, made them dependent on the government, and also fight a war in Vietnam. So what did Congress and LBJ do? They found money.
Bushels of it.
The Social Security lockbox was then broken open, and the government would take money out of the Social Security with IOUs to pay it back at some undetermined time in the future. And of course, we've been running deficits for so many years now, it's not funny, but Social Security, I don't think it's going to go bankrupt. As long as the people who are working today continue to pay into it, I can draw mine in more than 2 years. And then further on down the road, people working in will pay in Social Security and pay for the people who work for it now, for paying them now, who are now retired. So it's going to be just the government, the Democrats screwed it up.
Well, yeah, it's. I had a long time ago. I read a story by an actuary. You know, an actuary, he takes figures and draws them out to the nth degree.
Yeah.
Well, he figured it up that if Congress hadn't taken the money out of Social Security, out of the accounts, that the average length of time that a person would be able to draw Social Security benefits without crossing the apex of positive to negative side of the calendar would be the age of 94.
And most people don't live that long.
And most people don't live that long. Okay, so here you are. If they had not touched your personal account in Social Security and invested in it the way they were supposed to, you would have money to live on to the age of 94 before you would cross that apex. So if you only live to 75 and you live to 80, what do they do with those extra 14 years of money that you were supposed to have? It doesn't go to your survivors.
It goes to somebody else.
It goes to somebody else. Probably goes to Congress to pay for them new vehicles and all their new shit. They've got to have new secretaries and new this, new that. But anyway, be that as it may, I know we've discussed that before, but I find it interesting that they're saying on one hand, Trump will bankrupt it, but on the other hand, if Biden's elected, he will increase the amount that you get.
Well, people have to remember, Democrats are doing what the communists and the fascists did back in the 20s and 30s and 40s, is that they told lies, but blamed other people. The Democrats did the same thing. They're the ones who actually had caused the bankruptcy, but they're lying to cover their tracks and blaming Trump. He's only been in office less than 4 years, and Biden has been 47 years. So you're going to blame a guy who's been there for less than 4 years, and someone there for 47 years hasn't done anything good? Anyway.
Yeah, well, this is the point they're making on your kids. That with that commercial, they're trying to buy the vote.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Promising you something that they really have no intention of delivering, but if you vote for them, the communists will be in power, and then you won't have to worry. Everything will be free.
And as someone who would probably be eligible to take theirs in 2.5 years, I'm not buying the Democratic garbage.
Near me. Near mine. Scott, you're being quiet.
Well, I'm letting you guys chat. Didn't want to interrupt your flow of
Well,
thought.
we get into trouble when that happens.
True. I'm just thinking to myself about the people I work with, the people I see on a daily basis, that, certainly everybody could use a few extra dollars in their paycheck. But I've seen it time and time again. These people, when they have all these incentives for overtime, you pick up an extra day, we'll give you X amount of extra dollars. Half the time, within the same pay period, these people who pick up 3 extra shifts here, there, and the other are calling off because they're making enough money with all these side benefits that they don't need to work.
Mm-hmm.
When I worked at the one factory gig, it was I was up in the conference room, and the plant manager, I forget his name, he was a right proper asshole, but he got the job done. It was as the second shifters were coming in, and he's like, Jesus, these assholes have better cars than I do. And when he means these assholes, most of the people on second shift were 19, 20, 21-year-olds fresh out of high school. And they're making really good money. Craft made cabinetry paid you a lot of money for non-technical jobs. And he's like, Jesus, we pay these assholes too goddamn much. That's why they never come to fucking work. And that is true,
Well, that's been the problem with this COVID virus thing, with that extra $600 a week in your unemployment check.
People don't want to go back to work.
Well, no, they're making more money sitting on their ass doing nothing, so why go to work? Okay? Now, if they needed some help, so unemployment benefits is roughly around 75% of what you're making. Okay? Okay, so if you're going to try and help people out, then what you do, you give them that other 25% as an incentive. But in order to get that extra 25%, they have to go look for a job. Otherwise, you're going to be have to settle for the 75. And if they don't go look for a job like they're supposed to, at least wise the old requirements were, then you lose that too. Okay, and all you have to do is get a card and say you went to this place and have somebody from that place sign it to show that you were there looking for a job. And it's very simple, stupid. But they're making it too easy for people to sit back and milk the system and put an undue burden on the people that do work for a living. Okay? And so that's why I've always been in favor of doing away with welfare and setting in what they call workfare, which they were experimenting with for a while. And my personal opinion is you combine welfare and unemployment together. Okay? Here's the way it works. You lose your job, you go to the employment office, and they can't find you a job. You fill out the paperwork for it. They can't find you a job. Instead of getting a unemployment check, you get not necessarily a welfare check, because here's what's going to happen. You're going to register with them. And if there are 4 or 5 people that find jobs that have kids, and you don't find one, you're going to watch their kids for them while they work to get your money. If you want the money, you're going to watch their kids. And in the summertime,
you gotta work for it? Oh, no.
and in the summertime, you're going to go out and sweep the roads. There's no point in garbage along the roads. You're going to mow the yards for old people that can't get out and mow. Okay? And in the wintertime, you're going to take and shovel the sidewalks and driveways of these older people. And you're going to go along after the snow trout has gone by and dig out the fire hydrants so that people, where the fire departments get to the hydrants. Instead of having big people wasting their time doing that when they could be doing other constructive things. So it would be replacing 2 bureaucracies with 1. Okay?
Can government handle that?
And government would, it would be sort of a handout, but you would work. And once you have to start working for those benefits, it would not be very long before that person really put forth a concentrated effort at getting a job. Because who wants to go out and shovel sidewalk at 0 degrees in the middle of the day? Okay, I don't like doing it. I do it. I actually use my snowblower now because my heart and back are too bad to shovel anymore. But you follow what I'm saying. You're going to work. Regardless of whether you work for somebody else or whether you're working to take care of the kids for somebody else, babysit.
That's bad 4-letter word because of W.
But that's infringing on their constitutional right. Well, I guess they do have a right to starve to death if they're too damn lazy to go to work to be able to buy food. And I suppose it is their constitutional right to freeze to death because they're too damn lazy to go to work to pay for rent in an apartment or utilities to stay warm. So I wouldn't want to infringe on your constitutional rights. So we won't give you anything.
Okay. I have a story.
Uh-oh.
As you may recall, last week on Tuesday, we were scheduled a presidential debate, which turned out to be a presidential shouting match. Now, due to my schedule, I could not listen to much of it and actually turned it off because, it was just whatever. Now, polls show Biden won, another poll showed that Trump won. Okay. As you may know, the debate happened it was in Ohio, up in the Cleveland area. And this is where the story starts. And Jack probably already knows this. Ohio's Case Western Reserve University. That was the site of last Tuesday night's presidential debate or shouting match, depending how you look at it. Anyway, those folks there in the administration have set up dedicated, quote, support spaces, unquote, for students who were triggered by the intense exchange between Trump and Biden. Now, what I'm about to say is not my words, it's actually in the article. For any poor snowflake babies who couldn't handle a nasty orange man telling Joe Biden, quote, there is nothing smart about you, not true words. Case Western is providing a, quote, confidential safe space where they can talk and cry about the debate, unquote. Oh, you already heard Biden? Nah, whatever. The university folks say that, quote, its students can discuss the impact of recent national events, including the past presidential debate and the upcoming election, in private with others with the same or different mindset. The university has put aside 8 presidential debate spaces available for the students to attend, and the university folks ask that everyone use respectful dialogue. No shouting, no cursing. You get the idea. These presidential debate spaces, support spaces, will be available until Friday, October the 9th, for virtual counseling sessions for anyone attending the university to attend. So, if you snowflakes at Case Western, you have until Friday this week to use those presidential debate support spaces to get over what you either heard or heard about the debate.
Well, I didn't get a chance to watch it. I could have if I wanted to. I knew it was going to be. I knew it was going to be kind of raunchy. I could tell that by the way the commercials been going in the campaign by both, but especially by the
Well,
Biden's and his group. But what gets me is Biden has these people come on and they're speaking and it says on there they're not actors. They're not paid. They're volunteers to come forward and speak. And there was one that's the most recent is a woman who's sitting there claiming that Trump lied in keeping how bad the coronavirus really was. He did nothing to prevent it from happening. And he, since the coronavirus, the economy has slipped and he will not bring it back, that the only one that can bring the economy back will be Joe Biden. Well, bullshit.
oh.
He brought the economy back from the 40 years of Democratic rule.
Concluding the 8 years of the nightmare with Obama.
Yeah. Okay, so
Wait, Obama and Biden.
yeah, I see that there's some things about him that are coming out that are not really too flattering. About time. But,
Y'all realize, of course, Joe Biden, current wife of Joe Biden, was married to somebody else. And while she was still married, Jill and Joe started dating.
no, he's a home wrecker right there.
Ooh.
Whoa.
And Joe has the audacity to tell Trump or say that Trump has no morals? Right.
Yeah, it must be awfully nice to sit in a cloud and believe your own bullshit. You know what I mean?
Well,
And,
yeah, and they, I know Facebook and other places are trying to pump up the train tour that Joe and Jill are on, and apparently the day after the debate, I did not write down the town in Ohio where they stopped, and I guess Joe just couldn't talk.
Probably medicine ran out on him, so they got to give him another shot.
The man is compromised.
Or he was still having hooked up to his battery charger anyway.
Yeah.
But Jill talked. Now, from the camera angle, I only counted 5 people there, not counting the press. Now, there may be more.
Yeah, but he's leading in the polls, you know.
Well, yeah, so did Hillary, supposedly. But then again, the mainstream media is the propaganda arm of the Democratic Communist Socialist Party of the United States.
You mean they are the equivalent of Pravda?
Yes, I forget the East Shore one.
I do too, man.
Anyway. So the choice this November is this. Do we keep capitalism? Or we go down the path toward socialism and into maybe something even worse?
Yeah, I've been reading a few things and I've been keeping quiet myself because mother's having her problems. So I'm trying to keep from saying too much in front of her. But things that I've been reading are indicating that if Biden gets elected, it is not going to be too nice in this country.
No.
So
we're going to be in deep kimchi. If anybody ever went to Korea and had kimchi, you know how bad that smells.
I never was to Korea and I never had kimchi, but I can still smell it.
Trust me. Don't eat it. Anyway, I actually have another here. Y'all might have missed this, but the latest unemployment numbers came out, and the unemployment rate fell to 7.9%. As new jobs, about 661,000 were created or refilled. Now, on the negative side of this report, came out that roughly 50 to 60% of restaurants and bars in New York City will be closed forever by the end of the year because of Mayor de Blasio's severe restrictions on indoor and outdoor dining, as well as consumption of alcohol and the mandate to wear a mask when you're outside New York City. And, side note, if you're caught outside with a mask, the fine could be $1,000.
Well, they need the money.
I know. Anyway, now, this restaurant report was similar to one I mentioned a while back, about a month ago. That stated in Pennsylvania, up to 60% of restaurants in PA may close forever by the year's end due to Tyrant Wolf indoor seating restrictions. Of course, as we know, both de Blasio and Wolf are Democrats. Do you really want to vote for these guys or their party? Not me.
Here's a good one from G.I. Joseph. Trump set the Reichstag on fire to support Hitler, the left claims. I don't know if you got any factual basis for that, G.I. Joseph, but that is a funny one, considering that Trump wasn't even alive then.
Might be one of his forefathers.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Actually, I know who it was. It was a member of the Bush family, because they were supporting Adolf Hitler.
Ooh.
Oh. So it was
The climate family Bush.
yeah, same way with
Kennedys.
Goodrich, I think it is.
Them too.
Goodyear.
Well, the Kennedys had their hands on both sides.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyhow.
And I have another one that comes from California. And, no.
No,
I mean,
just,
you're shocked.
he's chewing over there and he didn't even offer me any.
You might have missed this one too. A new California law requires diversity on corporate boards, and members can self-identify as blacks. Let's say you got black shirt, so you're close. So with the three of us. Your neck, because this shirt's darker black than yours. Your neck, I guess I'm wearing green and OD, so.
No, I got black.
Yeah, it's like, well, okay.
I'm a little richer.
Anyway, California Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom signed the law last Wednesday. It requires corporations to have a minimum number of board members from underrepresented communities, as defined by race, gender, sexuality, which includes homosexuality or transgenderism, and other categories of identity. This new bill, called AB 979, comes on the top of existing legislation which was signed into law in 2018 that required companies to have a minimum number of board members who were female or at least identify themselves as female. Anyway, AB 979 requires public companies to have a minimum of one director for an underrepresented community as defined. And I'll get to that in a little bit here. AB 979 also requires that by the end of calendar year 2022, that a corporation with more than 4 but fewer than 9 directors to have a minimum of 2 directors from unrepresented communities. A corporation with 9 more directors will have a minimum of 3 directors from underrepresented communities. Now, in Texas' new law defines a member of an unrepresented community as an individual who is black or self-identifies as a black, African American, Hispanic, Latino, Asian, Pacific Islander, Native American, Native Hawaiian, or Alaska Native, or who self-identifies as gay, lesbian, bisexual, or transgender. Yeah. The law does not include how to distinguish someone, for example, who identifies as a black from someone who is actually black.
Well, here's my thought on that. Good. I think everybody should have the opportunity to succeed, and the old boys club needs to be opened up to all. With that being said, I'm just going by what I've seen on various news sites and interviews. You know, all these people that are screaming the loudest, what they go to college for? Gender studies, African American history. I mean, if you want to become a member of a board of a Fortune 500 company, you better bring something to that table. Because you sitting there screaming that it's not fair because I'm a woman and you're not giving me any stuff. Well, what stuff are you going to bring? It's not a gift. It's a job that you have to produce.
Then you can always fall back, if they don't give it to you, you can always fall back on the racist things that they're talking about that law. Even if you are white, claim you're black. Hey, I'm black.
Well,
I'm black. My grandma on my pop's side, 25 times removed, was black. She was a black
but I can claim I'm
yeah.
part of Algonquin, Native American.
Yeah.
So anyway, let me just finish here. Proposition 209, which is up for repeal by voters this November in what's called Proposition 16, bans the state from using race as a criterion in hiring, but does not bar legislation requiring companies to implement self-identifying diversity criteria. I note to myself, California is becoming more nuttier or crazier by the day. So if you're out there in California, you can hear this, try to move out as fast as you can.
That's because the smoke is starting to affect their brain.
Well, they already warned people who are going to buy wine next year that the wine may have a smoky flavor to it because of the fires. Will that make people more crazier than what they are? More dumber than what
Maybe
they
it would
are?
enhance the flavor of the wine.
I guess time will tell.
Be the first on your block, though, to have a bottle of smoke-flavored wine. We're going to smoke it. We smoke everything else, and we have these little smokers. Well, because they had so many of them, they needed to do it all at one time. We just burned the state down. Smoke the whole...
Well, that's also a heck of a way to have forest management. Just burn the whole forest down and start over again.
Yeah, and you know what? Something I know they were talking about the wine industry and taking a big hit with the fires. I haven't heard them say anything too much about the nuts. I'm talking about the ones that grow on the trees.
Well, I
not the ones that got two legs running around.
I've forgotten what. I think it's a fir tree, but I can't remember what kind. It needs fire to have its cones actually
Pine cones
break open, but I can't. There's a special tree. There's one tree in particular, but I remember reading about it. I can recall that it drops its cone, but it needs fire to have to break the cone open.
There's a pine tree that does it, but there's also, I think,
a ponderosa pine, or I just can't recall it.
Something else that I had a thought there and it's gone.
Well, why are you trying to remember that thought? Speaking of forest management in California, I talked about you can't do fire breaks and you can't clean up the brush and dead trees and whatnot. I remember in Germany going out in German countryside into the forest, especially in northeastern Bavaria, where they had, now Germans are environmentalists, probably worse now than back in the 80s. But they had fire breaks. And they had forested areas that were basically clear of brush. And you could tell which areas were more recently cleared than others because you could see for yards and yards and yards, in fact, probably along a football field, through any of the evergreen trees and other trees in the areas. And the Germans, I guess, had no problem with that. They protect the forests, keep the fires down, and work for them. California really ought to take a lesson from the Germans.
Wait a minute. We don't take lessons from nobody. We are the greatest in the world, even though we have all the lunatics. Maybe most of them living in California.
I still think Lex Luthor had a great idea. I just wish he would just implement it.
Yeah. The thoughts came back.
Okay.
One, there was a recent poll done, and it states that half the American population, 50% of the American population, is preparing for civil war.
Yes.
I found that very astonishing. I knew it was high, but I didn't realize it'd be 50%. And the other 50% are, we're going to find out in how very. And the other thing is, one ammunition company announced this week, and they're out of Arizona, and I don't know which one's out there in Arizona right off the top of my head, but they are $80 million behind on production of ammo.
I saw that, and
I can't think of the name of the company. It was out in Arizona. $80 million.
And they're running 24/7.
Yeah.
They bought they spent $1 million to buy new equipment. They could run 3 shifts.
Yeah, and it's
7 days a week.
And stop to think about this, folks. $80 million. Let's just say it takes them. They make the ammo and they sell it for 25 cents a round. How many million rounds is this one company behind? If they're $80 million behind, they are 320 million rounds behind of the one caliber.
Now, speaking of ammunition, a few days ago, I went to probably the best gun store in my area. I went in there looking for wooden gun racks. I found none. Apparently, they too fell victim to the surge in gun sales over the past few months. But when I walked around, there's one wall that has a glass counter where all their pistols and revolvers are kept. And the wall behind that counter, and a little bit past where the up toward the checkout counter is, had been in the past well stocked with firearms. Not on Friday. When I went in there, the huge long, glass case was, I'd say maybe 25% at best full. I know it was the higher price sidearms. There's a Colt 45, or basically a model 1911 pistol there for $475. There's some with a $500 mark. And I did have some smaller ones. In fact, when I was in there kind of browsing it, that was there. They came in with her 9mm. And said she wanted something smaller with less recoil. And one of the guys here, well, you can try a 380. And I was thinking, good luck, you find ammunition for it. Well, fortunately for this woman, not only did they have a couple of 380s for her to look at, they also had some boxes of 380 ammo. And I decided, well, I'm going to pick up some ammo while I'm here. And I did notice, of course, there's some ammo that, let's see, I remember like 9mm, you could pick up two 50-round boxes max. Okay. I remember a sign for 38 special was one box only. Some of the 223 5.6 I had was one box only, of 50. But I didn't see any limitations on, ammo like 30-06, 270, 280. Okay. But I noticed one category of pistol ammunition, 5.7 by 28, which was originally a Russian designed round. A little sign. The sign said, first of all, you're only buying one box at a time, and I figured the number of rounds in the box. But also, that when you came up to the counter to purchase said box, you had to have your PA driver's license with you, because the gun store was required by the state police to not only copy your driver's license, but also to send it in to the state police. 5.7 by 20 was the only pistol ammo I saw that had such a requirement. Of course, anybody knows that's kind of an armor-piercing round?
Shh. That's why.
Who said that?
That's why.
I know. But anyway, when I was in the store, there were 6 gentlemen there, looking at what was left of the rifle supply. Now, like I said, hunting rifles are pretty much gone. There are still a pretty good number of shotguns there. Some small bolt action 22s. I'm seeing semi-22s. And there were 6 AR type or style rifles. I mean AR, like with the carrying handle, or something more stylish, that you can buy. But they had 6 different models, representing the 6 different models of guns that they still had in stock. When there was an AR-10, and the one guy there could figure out he wanted an AR-10 and spend extra money, or get an AR-15. A couple other guys there had already decided what they wanted, which were more of the higher priced, stylish ARs. And they all get a chance to handle something. I guess they brought out one of each kind of hats. Everybody could handle it and say, okay, do you want this one? You have to pass it around, see which one you prefer. And by that time I was up to the counter and bought what I needed and left, so I don't know what these guys decided upon. But it was actually kind of amazing to walk in there. I hadn't been there a while, to find basically a lot of bare spots on this long wall where rifles, ARs, hunting rifles used to belong. Used to hang.
I forget who I was talking to. I think it might have been Scott. Where else I saw it on internet. But it was either cheaper than dirt. I think it was cheaper than dirt. It was advertising 9mm ammo. Arms Corps. $53 a box. A 50-round box.
More $1 round.
Yeah. Okay. Now, Emmy said she just bought some for 87 cents a round. You ought to go buy some more at that price. I'm sold out. I had a busy week with ammunition this week. I sold out of 9mm, and I sold out of 308, and sold out of 300 Winchester mag, and I did have 200 rounds of 223 come in, but it's already spoken for. I got 6 AR-15 mags, but the guy that wants the 223 ammo wants the mags.
There's spoken for.
Yeah. Okay, and he also has a 44 Magnum, and he wants me at the next show to look and see if I can find some more 9mm, 44 Magnum, and 223 and try and buy all I can afford. Well, he paid me pretty good for what I sold him. I scrounged around
Where is he live? Right here?
in Greenville.
I know a place you can go.
Well, he doesn't go to the shops.
Oh.
He
So the ammo I bought, 50 rounds a box, each one was less than $20.
well, that's the way it was with me with what I had on the.
Well, I was surprised.
Well, he's probably like me. He don't raise the price unless it's the new stuff that comes in. He doesn't go and price gouge on what he's got on stock.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, they could have this stock. I was like, okay, I'm taking it.
Yeah. So anyway, I've been on the internet trying to find this stuff. And he said, can you find it on the internet? And I said, well, I spend an average of 2 hours a day looking for ammunition and reloading components. And I said, for the last 2 weeks, I've only hit twice in which they had some loading components, and I got what I was allotted. 357 Magnum brass, 1 block of 250 rounds.
I did write that down.
What's that?
When you were talking about the prepping for Civil War,
Yeah.
this is in the World Net Daily, a poll. Half America is prepping for Civil War. Poll results that one survey organizer described as frightening shows that 3 out of 5 people, i.e. 6% of the respondents, say the United States is on the verge of civil war, and more than half the population are preparing for it. The poll was documented by Paul Bedard in his Washington Secrets column. The assessment comes from the Engages Sports and Leisure Result Group and ROKK Solutions, where they are. Quote, this is the single most frightening poll result I've ever been associated with, said Richard Thad, head of Engages. I'm sorry, Richard Thau, Thau, head of Engages. Now, this Paul Bedard reported that his comment in the following surveys, quote, have been sizing up the state of the nation and businesses since the coronavirus crisis hit us. This survey, he said, is the first to quote, raise majority concerns about a potential war, and that's even though the BLM agenda continues to conduct heated protests to the point of riots across America. This survey or poll said that 61% of the U.S. population believe that the U.S. is nearing a second civil war, and 41% agree with that survey, or different survey, anyway, and 52% of the 61% in the survey are so convinced that it's just around the corner, either just after Election Day or sometime very soon thereafter, definitely before the end of the year, that they are putting away food and other essentials. Now, there are allegations from both sides of the political aisle that the other side plans to steal the election. Of course, my note is Democrats are more likely to steal the election than Republicans. Just ask them. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has even speculated that she could be president for a time if either candidate cannot win a majority in the Electoral College and the vote is thrown into the House of Representatives where Democrats hold a majority, in which case Biden probably president. This guy better also report that there is also a contributing factor from the coronavirus because many people believe it will spike again and government will fail and essentials will be scarce once again, as they have been. These essentials of food will be scarce. So I'm already seeing some of that now. Some of it's coming back, but some of it's still pretty short supply.
Um, yeah, if you follow it with the one of the Democratic planks in this election is to take away the AR-15 if Biden gets in office. That I don't know how soon he'll attempt that after if he were to get in office, but that could be the spark that starts it.
Well, I think
Or
January
it could be-
22nd is normal inauguration day, so if
Yeah,
he is declared winner before that, he'll be in, inaugurate on that day. Of course, how long he'll last as president, who knows? But then again, if there is a problem with the election, and come January 22nd, there is no clear-cut winner, then as third in line, Nancy Pelosi becomes the acting president.
I realize that, but I'm going to assume that there's a clear-cut winner one way or the other. Because I want to be prepared for. We've got to be prepared for that solution. Don't worry about Pelosi because we know what's going to happen there. Okay, we know what's going to happen there with Pelosi. The country is really going to go shit face down in a hell of a hurry. But if Trump gets elected, the Democrats are threatening to riot and burn in the streets.
Yep.
Which they're already doing, by the
And
way.
well, they did that practicing.
Yeah. Well,
Plus the fact they've already threatened.
practice makes perfect.
Yeah, the problem is that okay, if you have a Trump flag or Trump sign or a Trump pen sign in your yard, you will be targeted for sure. But
Well, I'm just looking to see if they're out there targeting me now because I got both.
that's what you do.
Okay. But what I'm getting at is if the Democrats are threatening to burn the country to the ground using Antifa, using Black Lives Matter, and all the other, any other communist organization that's out there hiding in the walls waiting to come out to bring this country down. Now, be prepared. You don't have much time. I'd rather be prepared by November the 3rd and not have to worry about it afterwards, because afterwards is definitely going to be too late. It's hard enough to get stuff now, and as the election gets closer, it's going to get worse. And if by some miracle Trump, or not Trump, but Biden pulls a win out of his ass, it's going to get even worse, but they'll probably wait until after he gets sworn in as
or he can wait till he decides to somebody invokes the 25th Amendment and put Kamala Harris.
Let it sit and simmer for a while, 6 months or so, and then pull the plug. But just be prepared, get your shit ready to go, so that when there is an announcement of a clear-cut winner, especially if it's Trump, you would be prepared with no surprises.
Biden.
Okay.
Biden or Trump. Anyway.
If Biden wins, you're gonna probably have a few more weeks to prepare. But I'm just saying to be prepared now because
Trump wins, they'll riot.
Yeah. Exactly.
I just lost some kind of
Okay, well it's 2 minutes to 7, so before we start anything else, kiddies, we're gonna take a break. Unfortunately, the computer is giving me shit tonight when I come down here, so I was not able to line up the music. So it'll be just a few minutes of silence.
That's right. I'll say some monk. I'm still conducting inventory. I'm finding out I have more rounds than I thought I had.
Well, that's always a good plan out. You got more.
I am going to have to pick up my shotgun and hunting ammo for the bird shot.
What gauge?
12 and 20.
20 gauge?
And 12.
I don't know if I have
But
any more.
I have to finish. I still got to finish my going through.
Okay, to answer Uncle Crazy Bob, part of the reason we take a break is to try and discuss some of the stuff we want to talk about during the next hour. And so that we can stay sort of somewhat connected, as if we know we're going professional. You know, we gotta be professional about this. Can't be amateurs all your life. I mean, after doing this for 25 years, we gotta be near professional, don't you think, guys?
Yes.
Yes.
Speaking of professionals, we were discussing my profession earlier in the week.
Bob says, good answer.
I work as an LPN in a long-term care facility, and I've mentioned this before. The marked decline in the elders that I look after, and throughout the building. I've been doing this for 11 years, so it's not just something I've been doing for a little while. I've never seen this amount of decline this fast in all my years of nursing. People who at the beginning of the year were walking to the dining room, or at least walking partway to the dining room, are needing to be fed. I mean, people that were getting, literal visits once a week, twice a week from various family members. They're the staff is trying their best. They converted our chapel into a visiting area where they have walls set up, and the family can come in one door and the residents come in another door. But we were discussing, and Daryl had asked me if I thought that, it's going to kill these people. And I said, yes, it is. These people are not coming back to what we call baseline. If someone gets sick and then they come back to where they were, we refer to that as come back to baseline. These people aren't coming back. Another question Daryl asked was, do you think this is the plan? And I don't think it's part of the plan. I think it's on their end a happy accident, as they would say. Whereas what is being done is the powers that be are forcing the use of social media, which can be easily controlled, easily filtered, censored. The older people who want to, historically, when you got together with your friends and family, you went out to eat, or you went out to the bar, or you went out, to a concert. All these things where the older people would get together, they're not being allowed to do that now. So they're being more and more isolated. Even the ones that aren't living in a nursing home, people are being more and more isolated, and they just keep pushing people farther and farther apart. Because if you go back 200 years, where was the founding of this country started? Taverns, bars, rooming houses, where people got together. Because back in the day, they didn't have a big living room where you could have 20, 30 people over. That's where you had to go. And the people that don't know how to use technology so much are the ones that are being distanced and are declining. And they're going to be dying.
Well, I don't use Twitter and that, so I'm glad I didn't start getting into that. Where the other social media is, this is about the most I use right here. But now that you mentioned it, brings up another thought. Because of what's going on in our country, in our government, keeping people isolated is a way of separating them so that they can't get together with like-minded people to try and form groups to counteract what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? In other words, they're using the lack of communication, let's call it, to break this country.
The traditional communication, face-to-face.
Yeah. Okay, they're using that to break this country. Because if you can't go to a bar and talk to your friends or talk to somebody else, or how many conversations have got started when two people were talking and they hit a subject and then a bunch of other people tuned in and listened, and then you got a regular thing going. That's the way our country was founded, because they got together at bars and outreach to the people. Now they don't want people
churches.
Yeah, they don't want the people to get have that outreach, and churches especially. How many churches are just now getting back into having open services? Okay, but they are have to social distance themselves in the church.
I honestly believe it's a good thing. I think churches should be outlawed and they should be turned into brothels.
I'll have you know
Oh, go, here we go.
that since this pandemic started, I have not missed a mass yet. I have not been to one where mass have been required. I have not been to one where the priest said we had to social distance. Two different churches, two different Catholic denominations, the same mindset. Hey, church is the safest place you can be in.
Yeah.
What happened in the Invaders from Mars and the original ones from the 50s? Where'd they go? The church.
Well, you see, the enforcement of the closure of attendance at the church was done because some churches had their services in different states in which they were supposed to close down, and they went ahead anyway. The police came and raided them and all that kind of stuff, even when they had them outside and all that. So the fact of the matter is, what's happened with some of the other churches is they don't want to have to go through that bullshit.
No.
Okay. Now, personally, if I was at church and they came to raid it, to shut it down, I'd take and probably be killed because I'd go and kick the balls of the son of a bitch who's trying to close it down. Okay. This is what needs to happen. People need to stand up for themselves. They can't let some dictator down in Harrisburg tell them what they can do and can't do in this state. Is coronavirus dangerous? Yes. Is it as bad as what they say it is? No. See, the World Health Organization just announced that just last week we passed the 1 millionth death in the world due to the coronavirus. 1 million out of how many trillion? 7, 8, 9 trillion? We had 1 million deaths out of 9 trillion.
And you look back to the 1918, 1920 Spanish flu.
17 million, wasn't it?
Well, the low ball 20, highest side 100 million. Problem is, communications were bad. It was still the end of World War II World War I was still going on. So we got a lot of censorship in the Allied nations, as to not say what was actually going on. And of course, some doctors had no idea what they were facing. They just knew something strong was happening, so they didn't know. So that's why a lot of discrepancies. Okay, because Dr. A doesn't know, Dr. B doesn't know, Dr. C, who's in maybe a bigger city, knows that. Okay, we have some really bad flu going around here. Of course, they think it, and actually now they think it actually might be something related to a COVID pandemic. And it flared up in the fall, which they didn't expect, and then it came back in the spring. It was pretty, it affected young men, military age. When it came back around again, it affected different people.
Well, the young men in military age were being exposed to a lot of shit.
Yeah, they were
malnourished. They got
long hours of training, long hours on the front line.
Yeah.
Not enough food, water.
No food,
And
water.
how much of that, the chemicals were just floating around in the air, not necessarily enough to make you sick, but got in there and affected especially your upper respiratory.
I was watching mustard gas. I was watching a History Channel story about searching for World War II gold in the Philippines.
Yep, I've seen that program.
Okay, and they came across one of the digs where somebody had been digging, and they found broken bottles, glass bottles. When they took a sample of it, took a sample of the soil, and they took a sample of the air. It's been in there since the 40s, and it was heavily laced with mustard gas. Still there, hadn't broken down. It was still there.
Well, that's why a lot of areas in France are
Yeah.
all those from WW1. You just either it's the ground's been poisoned, or there's so much unexploded munitions. Dugouts that were buried in still have gas in them, have dissipated, they know where to go, and dead plants. It's just,
Something that, since we're talking about coronavirus and that, something I heard on the radio the other day when I was in town, face mask. What do you do with a face mask when you dispose of it because it is no longer effective? The throwaway ones, okay?
well,
They tell you not to handle it, okay? They tell you to put it in a plastic bag and to throw it away, but those plastic bags end up in a landfill, or they end up in the bottom of the ocean. There's already starting to show face masks floating in the oceans now in the regular dry
I've
zones.
seen face masks in various parking lots I've been to that someone had discarded.
Mhm.
And there's no biohazard containers
Yeah.
put them.
If you use a face mask, fire destroys everything. Okay? Fire destroys everything. Chances are fire will destroy the coronavirus because that's how they use it to dispose of certain type of viruses and poisons. They burn it. So if you have one, take it down to the backyard, douse it with gasoline and light the son of a bitch. Burn it. Not only will you get rid of a face mask that might pollute the landfill, but you'll get rid of the contamination if there's any in it. Okay.
Anyway, speaking of hospitals, came across an article entitled New York hospitals are now asking patients, do you have a gun in your house?
Who's
Okay.
asking this?
A New York hospital said, okay. It's in New York. Gun control policy is now coming to a hospital in New York. At the end of September, Northwell Health System, and two hospitals on Long Island and one of their hospitals on Staten Island, began featuring the following question in the screening process of emergency room patients. Do you have a gun in your house? According to a report from Newsday, the question is part, and quote, the question is part of a new screening program designed to analyze patients' risk for firearm injury. Now, at this point in the article, I just read down in my little note here, my personal opinion is that medical staff wants to determine a person's chance of committing suicide or perhaps using a gun on somebody else. But anyway, this program can count on funding from the National Institute of Health, which provided Northwell Health System with a $1.4 million grant to study gun violence prevention. Now, according to Northwell, the grant forms part of its "We Ask Everything Firearm Safety is an Issue" research study. Now, this study tackles the risk of firearms injury risk in a similar way to other risky health activities such as smoking, substance abuse, and car accidents. Quote, gun violence is a public health issue, declared Michael J. Dowling, President and Chief Executive Officer at Northwell Health. Quote, this is the health industry's responsibility to talk about this and do something about it. No, it's not. Note to myself, I guess gun violence is no longer a law enforcement, economic, or social issue. From the study, we'll use from the start. The study will use evidence-based screening, whatever that is. They explain that, and intervention at three of Northwell hospitals: Cohen Children's Hospital Medical Center in New York's New Hyde Park, South Shore Hospital at the Bay Shore, and Staten Island University Hospital. The locations were chosen because of how they are situated in regions that supposedly need firearm injury and mortality prevention, according to the health system. I'm guessing people shoot each other a lot, or maybe shoot themselves. That's probably why they have this injury mortality prevention program. Northwood has plans to take this program to the national level. Not just New York City, but the national level. So prepare yourselves at some future time to be asked by your physician or I'm sorry, in an emergency room doctor or staff, or perhaps your doctor too. You know, do you own a firearm? Now, under the program, medical personnel in these three hospital emergency rooms will ask patients if they possess firearms in their homes and assess the patient's injury risk. The patient response will then be recorded and integrated to the patient's electronic health record, which in turn will be used to determine the kind of guidance and care patients will subsequently receive. And the link of public health with gun control policy has been ongoing development in the last decade. In 2018, the American Medical Association, AMA, who was leading behind gun control in its campaign to confront gun violence. The AMA even declared gun violence a public health crisis and urged lawmakers to pass a wide array of gun control laws. Note, all which infringed on our Second Amendment rights that they had passed. The unholy alliance between the forces of gun control and the medical health industry cannot be overlooked. Medical organizations such as the AMA will, like nothing more, tend to boss people around and have people's personal information at their fingertips, thus turning doctors' offices into the de facto arms of gun control enforcement, because that is one of their many goals. So, I'm sorry, I forgot here. Similarly, mental health is used by the ruling class to demonize gun owners and categorize them as mentally ill, justify action against them. Historically, this is nothing new. The Soviet Union, remember those guys? Remember those communists? Used psychiatry to imprison dissidents and re-educate them as a means of making them more compliant to the whims of the Communist Party and its various evil ways. The government, our government and other governments have no right to preemptively infringe on our Second Amendment rights, and especially since if an individual has not committed a crime. If gun controllers are serious about science, they would try to study other factors, not just gun control or lack thereof, that play larger roles. The so-called science belief that they are currently using is simply another way to provide a rationalization to conduct gun grabs. But can you really appeal to the holy altar of science when the overwhelming amount of data shows that increased gun ownership has not led to a rising crime rate? In fact, crime has continued to go down in the light of more relaxed gun laws being rolled out across the nation in the last few years, because more and more people are buying guns. The gun control crowd claims to be pro-science, but when confronted with the facts of this science, they conveniently ignore them. So, when you are pushing for grabs, the truth becomes nothing more. Gun grabs. The truth becomes nothing more than an afterthought. Kind of like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris telling lies that they run for office. The truth means nothing to them.
I just saw a couple of things here to remind me. Yeah, we've been doing, the doctors were doing that in Pennsylvania here several years ago.
My doctor ever asked me that question.
Well, my family doctor, before she quit the business, because she quit because they were getting too intrusive. Okay, so she quit, but before she quit, she says, "I have to ask you this because I'm working for the hospital here. do you have any firearms at home? And she says, of course I know you don't. And I said, yeah, you're right, I don't have any firearms. I don't believe in them. I don't need them. Butcher knife works just as good.
In the right skilled hands.
But Emmy offered to sell us New York real cheap. How about $24 worth of beads there, Emmy?
Bees in wampum. Scott's buying. Scott is engrossed in his little handheld knowledge device there.
Uh-oh. Emmy's trying to stir up trouble again. She goes, I noticed to Uncle Bob, I noticed with your obsession with movies and Stedman airplanes. In other words, Crazy Bob was always fascinated by the boobs. You know, talking about Pelosi's big tits, whatever.
Oops.
You never thought you did, but...
Hey, you can have them.
Emmy said, sold. Okay, Emmy, I'll get them off to you right away. Make sure you send me a receipt. And the title to the land and mineral rights. I don't know if there's any mineral rights left in New York, but I'll take them anyway. So,
Well, they've all been buried. I mean, covered up. I mean, they have to
yeah.
knock down a few buildings. Oh, wait a minute. It already happened a year ago.
Did you see, I just saw it today, that in certain sections of the wall that's being built across the United States, the old stuff, material, was being bulldozed over to the Mexican side of the border. Instead of being scrapped out here in the United States, it was being bulldozed over to Mexico,
They could
and
scrap.
they were scrapping it out.
That makes a huge amount of
Yeah.
sense.
Now, the Army Corps of Engineers stated that they were not aware of this, but now that this has been brought to their attention, they will investigate the subcontractors.
How could you not know?
Yeah,
Because you both have people on site. How could you not know this was being bulldozed to the south into Mexico? It's U.S. property.
the
Why do it?
GPS system was wrong. Too much metal around there was affecting the GPS system. We're getting a false reading, a false positive.
Maybe.
All right, I got something here. This is off of Breitbart. This is a story about the Dr. Sanjay Gupta from CNN's Business. According to CNN, Trump doctors' team are purposely misleading. They are hiding things. CNN's chief medical correspondent, Dr. Sanjay Gupta, said on Sunday after the latest press conference from President Donald Trump's doctors outside Walter Reed National Military Medical Center that White House physician Dr. Sean Conley was purposely misleading the public about the president's condition. If y'all are living under a rock, y'all know that Donald Trump tested positive for COVID and he's in the hospital. And Gupta added, Trump's team are hiding things. Anchor Tapper said, some interesting comments from Commander Conley, who before this episode had an impeccable reputation. He was asked why he didn't give all the information yesterday. He said he was trying to, I'm quoting, trying to reflect the upbeat attitude of the team and not give any information that would steer the course of his illness. Is that what physician is supposed to do? Gupta said, no, I mean, you've got to be honest. You've got to be transparent. All these details matter. I mean, he is out and coming out to brief the public about the president. That's the briefing that's happening. If you are going to do that, then you have to be absolutely honest. And it wasn't just sort of conveying an upbeat attitude. It was purposely misleading yesterday about a very basic issue, which is whether or not the president had been on supplemental oxygen. It's one of those issues. That's important, Jake, because when you look at patients the way the doctors approach this, we know his age, we know his pre-existing risk factors. You can immediately start to assess his risk as more data comes. In that risk, sort of stratification changes.
I think when HIPAA laws can interfere with some of that stuff.
Yeah. If he required oxygen, that definitely indicates that there was some impact, significant impact on his lungs, and that puts him on a different trajectory. Well, there is a thought among medical professionals. The first thing you do if somebody has any kind of illness is put them on oxygen. Get that oxygen pumped into their
Standard
body.
thing, when I was driving an ambulance, the first thing we did
Oxygen.
was put them on oxygen as soon as we got them in the ambulance.
So, and they go on just to hammer because they deserve to know. They should have been told so they can make it. Well, whatever is said, they're going to turn it around anyhow. In God's honest truth, think back to when Hillary was running 4.5 years ago. And she was having all of these various health issues, and anybody from Fox even mentioned it. You shouldn't be asking that. That's intrusive. Yeah, she wasn't the president. She wanted to be, but she's still on that public plane that if they say that they need to know because of he's the president, I think I need to know to see who I'm voting for. If I see somebody who's sick, falling down, crap in their pants, because there's video of all that, I think I have.
And the other two are battery packs.
Yeah, in the case of politics, you do have the right to know, but just because he's on auction,
But you need to know everything.
yeah, you don't need to know everything, and just because he's on auction, it does not mean he's on critical.
Oh,
What was that?
the mouse.
A mouse.
Came out of the hole right down there.
What
Right
hole?
around right down by that piece of paper. Right down here.
Ah,
Startled me.
stick him.
So they
I
not
don't
do it.
Screwdriver him. Anyway.
Now, do you know what happened to the stock market on Friday when it was announced that Trump had COVID-19?
Took a nosedive.
Look at those guys.
Yeah.
I don't recall any points.
I have another story along with that. Okay.
Because I got one here. But
Scaramucci. He was the former White House communications director. He's known as the Mooch. Scaramucci. Trump should drop out of presidential race. He's not physically or mentally capable.
Neither is Biden.
Former White House communications director Anthony Scaramucci Sunday on MSNBC called on President Donald Trump to drop out of the presidential race in light of his positive coronavirus diagnosis. He based his call on both mental and physical reasons. Scaramucci said, "The truth of the matter is he's very sick. He's not going to make it to the debate. Anyone who looks at this situation knows that. So it will be interesting as to what the campaign will do as a contingency plan given the fact the president is not going to make the debate next week." He continued, "He still may be forced to drop out due to his health. We have no idea what's going on. We have no idea what's going on." But he still continues on saying he should drop out. "We have no idea what's going on with the brain fog or the lung damage as a result of COVID-19. If he really loved the country, he would drop out. He's not physically or mentally capable of being the president anymore, and he would do that."
The only way he wouldn't be physically president, or mentally able to, or physically able to, is if he were unconscious. If he were to go into a coma. In which case, that's.
How many years FDR was in a wheelchair and they hit it
Yeah.
in public as best they could?
Yeah, they did.
So this guy who's not in the inner circle, yeah, he was at one time, but he's not now.
Vindictive.
Very vindictive. He's saying, "Oh, well, obviously the president's going to be really sick and he's going to die and he should drop out."
You don't know that.
He doesn't know shit. And wouldn't they be happy, they being the Democrat side, that he doesn't, that they do cancel the extra debates? They didn't want to do it anyhow. They could jump for joy. That's exactly what they're doing. There's people all across the board wishing him death, wishing him ill.
I know.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and that's a hell of a thing. But that's dirty politics for you.
I mean, I'm not even talking politics. I'm talking, there's a couple of staunch Biden followers that are residents in my nurse home. And every morning, you should have heard the glee in their voice. "Oh, I hope he dies."
Yeah.
That's bad. You can dislike somebody politically without being that kind of irrational ass.
Yeah, it's.
Speaking of mental state,
I live in Pennsylvania State.
and our governor's kind of mental. Anyway, an article from WorldNet Daily, Biden botches the Constitution. Americans get to choose who they want on the Supreme Court. In an ideal world, lawmakers and politicians will have a strong working knowledge of the Constitution of the United States. Side note, remember a famous quote from then Democratic Senator John Glenn from Ohio, who said, about 75% of what Congress does is unconstitutional. So, anyway. After all, members of Congress and the President all swear an oath to uphold and defend the nation's most foundational legal document. And someone said, oh, just words, they don't mean anything. In the real world, unfortunately, many politicians appear constitutionally illiterate. You know who have extensively studied the Constitution in depth. Today's culprit is Joe Biden, who was interviewed Wednesday by anchor Shannon Perrine of Pittsburgh TAE-TV, Channel 4 out of Pittsburgh. During the interview, Biden claimed that the Constitution says, quote, says the American people get an opportunity to choose who they want on the Supreme Court by who they pick as their senator and their president. However, the Constitution says no such thing. Rather, the Constitution allows the president to nominate and, with the, quote, advice and consent of the Senate, appoint Supreme Court justices. The Constitution does not give the American people a say in picking justices. It doesn't even suggest that senators have a right to grill potential justices based on their ideology or political affiliation. So really, the so-called screening process that Congress does is basically unconstitutional. Okay, the president nominates a candidate, the Senate consents, the president can appoint the candidate, that's all. Joe Biden, who's not only been in government for 47 years, but also graduated from Syracuse Law School in 1968 and claims to have taught constitutional law for over 20 years, should know that. In fact, he supported the process back in 2016. Now he's changed his tune to fit his current political agenda. To the extent Americans, quote, get an opportunity to choose who they want, unquote, through their senators and presidents, people have already spoken. Republicans hold both the Senate and the presidency. In 2018, shortly after President Trump's last Supreme Court pick, Brett Kavanaugh was confirmed to the highest court. America voted to keep the Senate red. However, Biden's claim is believed by the fact that so far he has refused to release a short list of his own potential Supreme Court nominees, or answer questions whether, if elected, he would pack the Supreme Court with additional justices. Gee, Joe, what are you going to do? He doesn't want to tell you because he doesn't want you to vote against him, I'm sure. Brian asked Biden if he supports court packing. Biden refused to answer, just like he refused to answer the question during Tuesday night debate. Quote, that's exactly what they want me to talk about. So we want to talk about how they're violating the Constitution now. I'm not going to play Trump's game, he said. Trump's not violating the Constitution, and neither is the Senate violating the Constitution. It's all there. I mean, it's actually, over the years, the process has made actually a little more unconstitutional, but all the Senate's got to do is vote on it. They don't have to screen and do anything. What do you got to do? Biden's quote continues, right now, my entire focus is seeing to it that the American people get their chance. Elections already started. They have their way, I have to say, on who the next Supreme Court justice is, and that's what I'm focused on. If Biden only provided a list of who he would nominate, how are the American people supposed to know what he wants and have a say in it? Are we supposed to blindly support an unnamed nominee because he or she is Biden's choice? Biden suggests that the Republicans are the ones violating the Constitution here is laughable, considering every major Democrat, including Biden himself, supported voting on a Supreme Court nominee in the election year back in 2016. Okay, when it suited them to do so, I suppose. It doesn't violate the Constitution simply because the shoe is on your foot this time around. So, Joe, what was right in 2016 is still right in 2020. Biden is completely wrong in his constitutional analysis, which is concerning from a man who wants to become president. And one of the simple ways you guys just don't vote for him. But that's my point. Okay. I'm done. Let's see.
Something else that I've seen in the campaign ads condemning Trump on his handling of the coronavirus. People were saying that he was hiding how bad this was,
Well,
and I know what he was trying to do. As soon as the coronavirus got blasted
locked
out
out,
there,
flights and shot.
okay, people were doing panic buying. They were going in, they cleaned out the toilet paper. Okay, they were panic buying, and what he was trying to do was calm them down and prevent a panic. Because if they went unchecked, what would be the next thing? We all know some foodstuffs started disappearing off the shelves to where there was shortage of that, along with the toilet paper. So,
but on the other hand, all right, hindsight's 2020. But you look back, the CDC did not at first indicate or tell Trump how bad this thing could possibly be. But Trump, okay, shut down flights from China.
yep.
Now, Cuomo said, well, he should have shut down flights from England and France and Europe, okay? Well, okay, he did that once he found out the Chinese were sending them, okay, we're just sending around the world this way to Europe and then to the United States. Well, once he found out that happened, time out, we're shutting flights down after Europe, okay? So, yeah, did anybody advise him to do it before? Don't know, okay?
Think about what was going on back at the beginning of the year. Impeachment craziness.
Yeah, he's still doing impeachment.
Impeachment craziness. Every politician out there that was against Trump, everything he says is a lie. Don't trust him. Don't listen to him. Don't listen to him. Don't listen to him.
Yeah,
Even if he had.
Then the FBI comes out and says 90% of the information that they gave to Congress to charge him with impeachment was a lie.
Well, garbage.
Yeah.
Fabricated.
So, and
That's why they're doing this, because they couldn't get him with impeachment, so they're trying to get him with this.
well, the one thing I learned, okay, both working for the state and military, the boss is only as good as the people who work for him. So, if you give the boss bad advice, then how is he supposed to do the correct thing?
Yeah, how's he supposed to make the correct decision?
If he's not if he's not knowledgeable on the subject, okay. When I worked Intel, okay, this is what I know from the sources I'm working with the G2 folks. This is what they're telling me, okay. So this is where we're going on. Now, if they're wrong, then I'm wrong. But I don't know I'm wrong because they didn't tell me that. So yeah. So you only or the same thing with anything else. It's I mean like in war game. Okay, when you have opposing forces. Okay, your intel folks supposed to try to find out through resources. Okay, what the bad guys have front line and what's behind them. Now we did my ground reconnaissance, electronic reconnaissance. Airborne, photographs, electronic stuff. So you try to figure out what the enemy has. So you go, okay, where can I attack him if he's weak? Well, if the enemy is good enough and camouflages his weak points and make them look like very strong points, and obviously, well, I don't want to go there because this looks pretty strong. In fact, and the Russians were past masters of doing this. Okay, they so I can't fault Trump for everything involved with the virus. I can't fault those people who don't think about these things. And, well, he was wrong. Well, yeah, he was wrong, but why was he wrong? Somebody tell him the wrong stuff? Anyway.
Yeah, Jack was saying the resupply on the store shelves is broken down. Yeah, there is a lot of stuff that is in short supply, and I've been noticing more and more empty shelves because supplies is not getting delivered. And, for whatever reason, whether it because the truck drivers are laid off or companies can't get drivers. I know Daryl's Daryl's side of the business is the companies can't get drivers to deliver the steel, pick it up and deliver it. So they're having problems getting steel in and to keep the tool and die industry going. If you can't keep the tool and die industry going, then they can't make the dies that the manufacturing requires to be able to produce the product.
If you're in a frontline troop, okay, you need food, you're going to need ammunition, you're going to need petroleum products, okay? If the supply chain can't get it up to you, you run out.
That's why we had to halt after the 3 days of Desert Storm, because they couldn't get fuel to the tankers fast enough.
Yeah, because they were just running around.
It was just...
They were outrunning their
fuel. That's what. Yeah. Well, look at the American advance across France after D-Day. Once they got going, they come with the Red Bull Express and run trucks 24/7 basically to get supplies up to, and still things didn't get up. The troops still things slowed down in the fall.
Some of the craziest stuff I ever did when I was in that support battalion is we had refuel on the move, splash and go. We had our fuel trucks, helmets and tanks set up, and all radio. They would come in, and we had basically a big gas station out in the middle of nowhere. It was like in the middle of the damn night, and these big M1 Abrams heavies just come roaring in. I mean, and you swear to God they're going to run you over. And the guy,
the thermals works, I guess.
The guy's crawling out of the hatch and unscrewing the gas tank. As they're coming to a stop, we, hand them, and I think they're given 30 seconds worth of gas or diesel, and then all right, go, and you're pulling that out as they're pulling away, and he's cranking it down. The next one's pulling. I mean, Jesus Christ, just that ground rumbling. All right, there.
I got another one. Another article, Warnet Daily, called "Inside the Trojan Horse."
Yeah, I saw that story too.
Americans are facing an imminent presidential election, more crucial to their freedom and well-being than perhaps any election in their nation's history, and yet which has become a total charade of force, a massive pretense. Virtually the entire mainstream media loathes the energetic and fearless incumbent Donald Trump, who resurrected the U.S. economy. Of course, only to see it fail when the coronavirus hit and was made worse by fear and lies. Made America energy independent, destroyed the ISIS caliphate, and largely kept its campaign promises, all while fighting off a never-ending coup against him, like the impeachment stuff. The same media fiercely forts and actually pretends to venerate the challenger Joe Biden, a feeble, constantly lying, unprincipled, corrupt career politician whose mental disintegration is now so apparent in advance that he can barely speak coherently. Sidebar, I understand that the day after the presidential debate, Joe and Jill on their train rides into Ohio, Pennsylvania, stopped at someplace in Ohio. Joe just could not speak. So Jill had to speak for him. From the video angle I saw, besides press people, 5, I guess, Biden supporters. Anyway. They all recognize, of course, that Biden is simply a smiling and soon-to-be discarded Trojan horse. Yes. If Biden wins, and God help us, they will give him, they swear him in, Joe, you're now President of the United States. I'm going to guess between the first 1 to 3 months, somebody will invoke the 25th Amendment. Goodbye, Joe. Come on, your turn as a president now. And things will go really downhill fast. Anyway, this card, inside which patiently waits the radical socialist and Marxist revolutionaries who plan to burst out rural America should the Biden ticket prevail. And what would happen? The astonishing truth is laid out in a powerfully eye-opening September issue of WND's monthly whistleblower magazine titled Inside the Trojan Horse, What America Would Become If Joe Biden is elected president. Just keep scrolling down here. And it's a nice looking book cover there. Interesting issue, best-selling author and whistleblower editor Kevin Kuplian says, first things first, today's Democratic Party is, for all practical purposes, insane, or as Donald Trump recently put it, totally stone cold crazy. True. Democrats demonize and defund the police that protect them and then complain when crime skyrockets. They encourage violent communist anarchist mobs to burn down our cities. They insist they can change the Earth's weather by adopting a bizarre totalitarian socialist program that will destroy our economy and annihilate individual rights. Think about the Borg, the collective. They believe convicted terrorists be allowed to vote from prison. They believe in beautiful full-term baby about to be born. They believe a beautiful full-term baby, human baby about to be born, can be slaughtered at will. They agree that there are a dozen different genders and that men can get pregnant. That's insane. I've been married for 41 years. My wife is the only one to become pregnant between the two of us.
That's because you know you're a man, but if you was a woman thinking you're a man, then the man got pregnant. The man side of her thinking got pregnant. You're not thinking right. We need to send you to a thinking school.
Bottom line, explains Kupian, I guess, today's Democratic Party become possessed by a dark revolutionary spirit of Marxism, which in reality is based on hatred and rebellion against God, against his commandments, against his morality, against the very idea of objective truth. Think back to the day before mankind appeared on this earth. What happened in heaven? So an archangel named Lucifer, light bearer, he thought he was as good as, if not better than God. And today we have he and his legions responsible for the chaos we have here. Anyway, Marxists want their own truth, their own laws, their own morality, their own biology, their own science, their own heaven, on earth. They want nothing to do with Judeo-Christian values. They have long served as a moral foundation in America, which they openly hate. And yet, these are raised people who believe that much more intelligence and moral, that they are more intelligent and more than you, and who in just a few weeks fully intend to take over America forever. Forever? Question mark. Rush Limbaugh put it starkly. The Democrats win, that's the end of democracy. Actually, our republic. It is the end of the two-party system. You're going to have a one-party government like good old Mother Russia, like Great China, like North Korea, like Vietnam.
Yeah, go see how they are.
Like some countries in Africa. Anyway, we're going to have a one-party government that is going to devote itself to eliminating all opposition. That's what's at stake. If they win, I think the Republican Party essentially ceases to exist. And Biden take on that says, well, if you refuse to accept the Democratic Party, they will refuse to accept you as a living being.
And we'll send you off to the re-education camp.
Or put a bullet in your head. Anyway, how is it even possible, seeing as America has been a two-party system for centuries? Well, quote, one of the first things that will go, explained Limbaugh, is they will grant statehood to D.C. and Puerto Rico, which will give them 4 more Democratic senators. Now, D.C., the District of Columbia, was specifically organized not to be a state, but to be home of the federal government, because if the senators lived there, they had to vote from there. You couldn't vote from your home state unless they got absentee ballots. It's really screwed up. The Democrats want to screw things up to satisfy their grab for power. They would never lose control of the Senate after that. They would never lose control of the House. They would pack the Supreme Court with who knows how many new justices, and they'll all be left-leaning justices. It won't take them long to do any of this. After all, they've done it, and after they've done it, there will be one-party state. The United States will be a one-party government. In the issue, whistleblower of some of today's brightest minds, from Dennis Prager to Rush Limbaugh to Ben Shapiro to David Horowitz, describe exactly what happened to America as Democrats will be on November, as well as required to stop them. And if you can look on it's on WorldNet Daily today, WorldNetDaily.com. It's probably still there. You can read the entire article, where that highlights the inside Trojan horse. And there's one thing that jumped around here: 8 ways Antifa and the Dems are fascists to the core. Okay, demonic. BLM leaders call on the spirits of the dead. This whole kind of stuff, race theory. It just can tonight read it before it gets pulled off. And I will.
Well, that brings us almost to the top of the hour. Last parting shots.
Go ahead. I'm resting my voice.
I watched the first 2 John Wick movies. I know I'm probably behind the times, but I watched John Wick 1 and John Wick 2 over the last couple weeks. Oh my Gideon! I looked it up last night. In the second movie, John Wick killed 128 people. There you go. That's all I have to say about that.
Not nearly enough.
It's just a non-stop killing fest.
Yeah.
But he trained to do that.
Oh yeah.
He's actually trained to do that.
Oh yeah, he's good.
Trains with live fire.
Yeah.
He does those 3-gun shoots and martial arts training. He's a genuine good.
Any last comments from you, Mr. T?
There's an article about Biden. He's some ads coming out to hit Catholic and evangelical voters that he's really a good Catholic in good standing. I listened to one today. There's one from a parishioner of his church. She is a liar. No doubt about it. I don't know why they paid her to lie, but she is a liar. Biden is not a Catholic. Well, he is in name only.
More Catholic than he is. Jesus Christ.
Sometimes I think Trump is more a Catholic than he is. Because Trump has appointed 2 Catholic Supreme Court justices and has now nominated a 3rd to bring back a conservative court. We really need a constitutional court that does not make up its own laws. It rather does what the Constitution tells it to do, which is to review laws as to whether they're constitutional or not. And if they're not, then they're illegal. But you don't legislate from the bench. So, anyway, have a good rest of Sunday here and have a good week.
My final comment is next weekend, Saturday, October the 10th and Sunday, October the 11th, Cherry Tree Township Volunteer Fire Department, Cherry Tree Road, Titusville, gun show. Be there, be square. Come there to see if you can find any of the other stuff that you're running short on. And I'll give you October the 23rd and the 24th at 5320 Route 322, Shippensville, PA, at the Allegheny Log Homes warehouse. Now this is Friday on the 23rd from 4 to 9, and Saturday, October the 24th from 9 to 4. I will be there. I have 4 tables. So hopefully we'll see some of you this weekend at Cherry Tree. And say good night, folks.
Good night, folks.
Good night, folks.